Meet Vera. She is not a script on my laptop. This is what she looks like, and every time she appears anywhere, she's going to be some version. This is Vera. It's a totally different animal than the previous things that I had scheduled and built. She's not just a script on a laptop. She lives entirely in the cloud. So she works whether my laptop is open, closed, whether I'm crossing the country in a car. She triages my inbox every hour. She runs my calendar with real guardrails. She keeps my 5 a.m. workout. She keeps my deep work blocks. And I can reach her 3 ways. I can DM her in Slack. I can mention her in a channel. I can text her on her own real phone line. I can message her in iMessage, and she's going to reply, got it, on it. And then she actually does the work. She even answers my team as my assistant, and she drops new contacts that I make straight into Close. And she's the one that delivers my 4 a.m. briefing every day. So she's not a bot. She's really a teammate. Here in the 2 boxes below, these are actual unedited posts that she made in our Slack channel. I'm just not showing you my actual Slack channel, but I don't want you to think Vera's just a gray box that spits out data. She has a personality. This one, she says, foam roller, my nemesis, my salvation, with Jonathan juggling 13 events in 3 days, my recovery game, carried the whole movement, scored today 6 out of 10, but I showed up and the mat didn't judge me. Happy 4th team. Now, Vera also learns about the people on the team. So if people respond to her, with humor or with sarcasm, she starts learning that that's how she is going to respond to them. On the right, this is Vera doing the job. A teammate asks her in Slack, hey, what's on Jonathan's schedule, and can I get 5 minutes of his time? So she reads my calendar, she finds the real open windows, she keeps my private things blocked private, and she offers to book it. So she has personality on one side and real work on the other. And that's Vera. I really think that this is a glimpse of what the future looks like when we have AI agents. And I don't want to think of AI, how far I can push the way that she learns about humans. So she's consuming all of the things coming through our organization and really starting to develop an organizational map. Interestingly, in our lobby channel, which is our company channel where everyone communicates, when we got to the end of June, in the last week, she started encouraging people to think about the fact that the second quarter was finishing up and that we should keep our momentum going into the end of the second quarter. What we don't do, what our standards are, what does it mean to be somebody who works at Who Hire, who's a part of the Sales Boss organization, that's a part of building elite teams. It's amazing. Again, if you comment Vera, I have a whole document, and I'll scroll through it to show it to you, where I can show you how we're accomplishing this. So here's what Vera is. It's the honest version of what's under the hood, because Vera isn't one program. She's 8 small cloud functions, each one doing a job, and she's running on Supabase edge functions with a Postgres database and a cron scheduler. For those of you that aren't technical, you're like, I can't do this. Supabase edge functions, Postgres database, a cron scheduler. Those are all big words that are really simple. And remember, I'm not an engineer, and I built this by myself, and I'm going to show you how to do it. A Supabase is just a database. It's where all the information live. You can think about it as an Excel on maybe steroids. It lives in the cloud just like a website would. And when it says edge functions, I'm controlling those things on my device rather than sending it out to a service. And I'm sorry, I was talking about Postgres, and Supabase is the server style for that. And then a cron scheduler is just chronologically things happen. Cron, when you hear somebody say, I'm running it on a cron, it's just running it as on a schedule, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 p.m., etc., versus a trigger. So really, in the world of making things happen, you're going to always be asking what triggers this, or when does it happen? What triggers this, or when does it happen? When you answer those questions, you're just thinking about your Vera as an actual employee. When would I want her to do this? Is it on a schedule? If it's a schedule, I can use something like a cron scheduler, or I can just use the schedule function right inside of my inside of my AI agent. Or if I need it to happen when something else happens, I just need a trigger. And what's the trigger that's going to cause that? We can say, hey, when a calendar appointment is done, then go do these things. That's what happens in my Fathom. Super simple to get done. And remember, if you don't understand how to do that, you can just ask ChatGPT, Perplexity, GenSpark, Claude, whoever your favorite agent is, how to do that. Here's another point I should say. Don't fall in love with your agent, right? And what I mean by that is not Vera. I mean, if you use Claude all the time, you're going to end up loving Claude. I heard so many people say, I should move away from ChatGPT, but it has all of my information. That might work for your personal life. But in business, you would never sole source any part of your business. So we're not going to build our entire business architecture on Claude. What if Claude has an outage? What if Claude quits being competitive? What if Claude raises their price in some ridiculous way? Just treat this with the same fundamentals you would with every part of your business, and you would never tolerate having a supply chain risk that would put your entire company at risk. So spread your functions around. I call it dating, permanently dating. And you're going to date around. You're not going to get married in the world of AI. So the hourly agent then is triaging the inboxes. It's building the brief. There's a real-time listener that handles Slack. So when she's messaged, she's paying attention. There's something I call a watcher. It acts inside my private DMs as me. And then there's a finalizer that books meetings on a timer. There are other post-team encouragement and even her own daily workout, a weekly digest that she's learning about the team. She's connected, like I mentioned before, to Gmail, Calendar, Close, Slack. And I give her a hosted Mac in the cloud. And the reason I do that is our entire team uses iPhones. We use the iCloud universe. And one thing that Mac doesn't allow you to do is text through an agent. However, if I issue Vera her real phone and a real iCloud account, and I host all of that in the cloud, always on, always alive, then anyone can text with her and she can text back. So the rule under all of that then is that she never claims something is done unless it actually succeeds. And if something fails, the next run's going to pick it up. That's how you build things as a fleet instead of this one big script. So think about Vera or any assistant you're building as a lot of different tasks where one of those might be able to fail and the whole thing doesn't fall apart. And you're accessing those skills just as you need it, just like you would a real human. If you said, hey, check my email, that's one set of skills. If you said, hey, book this hotel. Oh, I also got Vera connected so that she can get on all of my travel, and she can look at my travel plan. She can book a car for me. She can book my hotel. She can book my flight for me. Here's what Vera looks like. She's 8 functions, 1 assistant. She has the Vera agent, Slack, her watch, all of those. And again, I mentioned the rules. So let's move on from here. Then what Vera does is she gives me one brief 2 different ways. She gives me a Slack DM, and she also has a private password protected dashboard in the cloud on Vercel. So if If you're not familiar with Vercel, it's a way to host things in the cloud that's very AI friendly, has all of the tracking traffic and usage stats and all the things you'd want without having to set all that up. So Vercel, I'm a big believer in it. You should check it out. But when she does this, I see today's schedule, some of the conflicts. I get drafts that need my approval for my email. She has a pulse on relationships. What are things I need to keep warm? She gets a log of things that she sent overnight. She looks at, is there anything unusual happening in the finances of the business? Are there admin items that are piling up that maybe aren't done? Are there aging open loops that I should be paying attention to? And she runs this out so I can listen to it, and so I can just get up and wake up already briefed. Sometimes I'm putting it in, I'm listening to it as I'm getting ready to go to the gym. I finish up my workout listening to Vera. The next portion, and this is actually what my, let me see if I have that. This is actually on the left, what my briefing looks like. And each segment I can play a bit at a time. So if I don't have a lot of time, the newest version actually shows the estimated listen time for each segment. I can play all 13 segments at once, or I can go item by item. This is one of the things that has freed me to be able to spend my mornings doing my fitness and health routines without starting the day feeling rushed and feeling like I'm behind. So this is something, again, comment Vera if you want this. I can't tell you how life-changing it is. But here's what you do. You have to really think about this. This is what I have that I'm sharing with you. This is just a small portion of the things I have going. 3 automations running on autopilot. I have 8 cloud functions running Vera 24/7. I am no longer babysitting my AI. I have 0 engineers hired to build this. That's amazing. Together, these things, it's more than 24 hours a week. More than 24 hours a week handed back to me. The 2 full work days that I used to spend reviewing calls, chasing action items, staring at blank pages, digging through emails. But as impressive as 24 hours is, the number I want you to remember is 0. 0 engineers hired. I didn't assemble a dev team. I built this alongside an AI out of ordinary parts that you have available, a database, a scheduler, connectors, and just a clear set of rules. And so your version of Vera is going to look different than mine. Maybe you're quoting jobs, maybe you're chasing invoices, maybe you're following up leads. The building blocks are going to be identical. So let me give you the exact playbook on how you build. You want to start with these 5 steps. Pick one reoccurring chore, not your hardest problem, your most repeatable problem, the stuff you do every single week on autopilot, the boring, repeatable things. That's exactly where you want to start, because usually they're the easiest things to do with AI. And once you get used to trusting the AI, you learn how it thinks, you learn how to polish it, you learn how to avoid some of the rookie mistakes that you'll make when you first start, then that will click for you, the thinking of how to work through the harder problems. And this is why I say executives, you don't have to be the one building AI all the time, but for a period of time, I think you have to get your hands in and be curious, because there's no substitute for opening up an entirely new way of thinking unless you get your hands dirty with AI. So, step 2, you're going to write down how you'd train a new hire to do it. You're just going to talk it out in plain English. And when you do this task, here's what you look at. Here's what good looks like. Here's what you want to flag for me. You do that, you've written a skill. And if you want, go out on the internet and say, I'm looking for a skill that'll do this with my AI. And you're going to find skills libraries. There's tons of them out there. People are doing hard work. Treat it just like reviews. When you find a skill and it has 300,000 5-star reviews, probably better than one with 2-star review. Look for reputable marketplaces. Yes, there's a risk with these skills that people can inject things into your computer, they can do harm. But here's the thing, a skill is just a readable text file. You can read the whole thing. It's most always all in plain English. So if you get something off the internet as a skill, one, what marketplace did you get it, right? Is it in the alleyway, on a dark corner in Chicago, or, was it at a reputable department store? The internet works the same way, right? Just think about where are you getting things, then look at how many reviews there are, what's the source, and then regardless of the source, just open it up and read it. Does something stand out? In fact, you can put the skill in and ask Claude or your other agent to analyze it, to say, is there anything happening here that isn't readily obvious to a human reader? And guess what? It'll tell you. So, this third step, you're going to connect all the tools the job touches. So in Claude, there are connectors. It's a few clicks. It's not a coding project. And step 4, and you don't want to skip this one. You want to run it live with you watching. You want to treat it, the first week you're running it, treat it like you would a new employee in the first week. You're going to check back often. You're going to check the output. You're going to correct it. You're going to tighten the instructions. And then give it to a couple of trusted teammates and ask them to beat it up. So when I launched Vera, I had people try to, see if they could get her to reveal private things on my schedule, all the things that I had guardrails in place. Now, the 5th step, once it's producing what you'd accept from a good hire, doesn't mean it's perfect, because remember, even human hires aren't always getting it perfect, but once it's producing what you'd accept from a good hire, put it on the schedule and walk away. That's it. That's the whole system. That's how you stop babysitting your AI. Now, remember, before you run off and automate everything, you have to have guardrails, because you wouldn't give a brand new hire the company credit card on day one, and the same judgment applies here. So if you're giving it your email, for a while, they just draft, they don't send. Anything that leaves the building, an email to a client, a post, a quote, it gets written, but it gets approved by a human. My 4:30 a.m. assistant drafts replies, but doesn't send them until there's a box where she's getting it 100% right, and then she has discretion to send those kinds of items, VIP items, people that are in my CRM. She's just going to do drafts. AI is really good at telling you what is spam and what's unimportant and what's transactional, and you can easily start handing those things off. So, rule 2, start everything read only. So that's not going to work just to read without writing for the long term. If you're going to use AI, you're going to have to trust AI to write things. But I want you to think about like a new employee. Let's just start with tasks where the damage can easily be undone, right? So you're starting with just reading. So your first automation should just report and summarize, no action. So it can read your emails, report. Once you see that accuracy, then you can start letting it write. You can say, you can put this in my CRM. You can update this Excel spreadsheet. But you just want to make sure, because the failure in accuracy usually, let's be honest, it's not the model. It's usually some sort of the context is not right, or you haven't clearly articulated how that skill should run the job to be done. You're leaving room for error. So just like an employee, you're going to continue to put the guardrails in place until it's getting done how you would do it. So spot check it. And even after you have the AI up and running, you need to do 2 things. One is, I always have a heartbeat. What does a heartbeat mean? It means on a set schedule, I have another agent that goes out to see if Vera is still working, and it reports back to me and says, yep, Vera showed up for work on time, no problems. Or it says, hey, Vera, I called Vera and Vera didn't call me back. You might want to check on her. That's going to allow you to catch problems in the technology before you go hours or days or weeks or months with something you thought was being done not being done, right? Because technology, just like a human, can fail. It just usually fails less often, and it fails in predictable ways. So I'm going to have a heartbeat, and then second, just like I would with an employee, I'm going to have a weekly or a monthly review, depending on the severity and the importance of the work that they're being given, to just spot check for when things are drifting, it's getting away from the way I intended, and I'm going to tighten up that job description, make sure we're on the same page. Automation without guardrails isn't bold, it's careless. The goal is for you to have a team member who you trust, and remember, trust is earned. And by the way, when you're working as an executive, the other thing that's important to recognize is your team's impression of AI is going to come from the way you implement it inside of your organization. So here is the PDF that you can get by just commenting Vera in the comments wherever you're seeing this, on YouTube, Facebook. Build your own Vera. This is a step-by-step field guide to how to hire an AI executive that runs your day while you sleep. It's not an engineering team. It shares what she can do. It's the receipts on how you build it, what the connectors look like. It's going to be slightly different for you because you are building your own. I don't know what I did here. So you are building your own assistant. So that's it for this episode of the Cyber Command. Remember, if you're just catching this, maybe you don't know why I'm sitting in a truck. Well, one, I'm just charging, it's not driving. But I am traveling around the country, and we're doing about 20 locations, and we're doing an executive workshop. It's 3 hours where we talk about what's the human strategy in the age of AI. So I'm headed east now. I'm in Kansas City now. I'll be making my way over through Ohio and Nashville, and going south from there and going back towards Phoenix, and then eventually up to Washington State and down the West Coast. So go to the salesboss.ai. There is a button that is called the High Ground Tour. That's what you want to find, the High Ground Tour. That's my executive workshop. We're doing those at no cost, trying to educate business owners. Look, I believe that if you're responsible for your team, you have the obligation to make sure your team is able to compete in the age of AI. It is going to be a required skill, and it is moving faster than any technology in our lifetime. You owe it to your people to make sure they're competitive in doing this. This trip is sponsored by the Sales Boss and WhoHire. WhoHire is our platform for helping you hire humans, and we've released a prediction model that'll help you understand, do the humans on your team now and the ones you're hiring, do they possess the sort of things that will help them be able to operate at the speed of AI? Things are changing. Come along for the ride. It'll be exciting. Yes, there are things to worry about. Yes, there are guardrails we need to put in place, but let's get started. Let's have some fun. I'll see you next time. Reach out in the comments, send me an email, send me a text message. Let's stay connected. TheSalesBoss.ai, you can find everything that we're doing there. We have an event in Phoenix once a month, 2 days. We go for 12 hours a day, so you get 24 hours, and you will walk out, regardless of where you started, knowing 90% more than most people who are touching AI today. And I promise you, you'll be in a position where you're never overwhelmed with AI tools again. You understand the context of where each new tool and each new revolution in AI is taking you. Till next time, enjoy playing with AI.